I am not sure I want to go live. StreamYard just asked me, you sure you want to go live? No, I'm not sure about that. This one's going to be crazy, guys. I'm going to be telling you, I'm not prepared. When I say I'm not prepared, I didn't wake up this morning going, oh, I'm going to have a psychic on Dad with a phone. Many of you guys have watched lots of my stuff. People talked about psychics during the Kelsie Bharath case. There were psychics out there saying my name during the Kelsie Bharath case. I have explained this 100 times, but I'm going to do it again. That's why I came on 10 minutes early. Psychic Lisa will be joining us live, hopefully via video chat if everything works out. I guess I need to, where's my dang phone at? I need to make sure I have my phone just in case. Shoot. Oh, she'll message me on Facebook. Let me get my Facebook Messenger up real quick because I just want to make sure I got her stuff in case she comes on and asks me any questions. All right, let me go to my desk. See, this is why I do all this. Come on a little early. Make sure I got all my ducks in a row. I want to hit this thing hard. She has 1 hour with us, so we're not going to try to go. This ain't going to be a 5 hour with a psychic. Now, I did tell her that, hey, if you need more time or if you want more time and we want to reschedule something, we can schedule it because I know that this was late notice. And so it could be something. I'm not going to have a bunch of psychics on. That's not going to be something that I do on a regular basis. Here's the reason why. I absolutely believe that there are people in the world that can touch the other side. When I say touch the other side, I'm talking about whatever it is that veil is between what we can see, touch, feel, and taste. What we can feel with our our hands when we feel with our bodies when that wind's blowing, or we can reach out and touch, or we can see it. Those are the things we're meant to right now. Now, in the future, in the age to come, I think we'll have different eyes. Now, I believe that there are people on the face of the earth today that touch the other side in one way or the other. They're not fully there. They're not fully committed, but they touch that other side, whether it be through dreams, whether it be through these things, these readings they do, or whatever. I absolutely, without a doubt, believe that. I actually probably have more belief in it than most people. And the question is, are we supposed to? So it's not whether or not we can. It's not whether or not can people communicate with the dead, or can they communicate with people who have been here before us? Can they touch those things? The question is, should we? Should we do that? That's the struggle within me tonight. It has nothing to do with of anything else. The reason I'm having this psychic on is because, by God, I played this psychic's reading from 9 years ago for the first time to the general public since it's been recorded. That was the first time she had heard that reading in 9 years. I can tell you this right now. Although I have been in communication very much so a lot of people want to know some things. I am in constant communication with Mindy's family. So everything that I do and everything that I do about this case has not been given permission from Mindy's family. Like, I don't call Mindy's mom up and say, hey, I'm going to do the psychic tape, or I'm going to do the lawyer tape, or the cop tape, or I'm going to show this. I already had that discussion before I released one single thing. And Mindy's mom said, do what you do, Dad, with the phone. That's what she said. She said, do it. Just do it. Nobody else is so just do it. And I said, okay, we're going to open this door, and where this door takes us, I have no clue. So I have been in communication with Vicky. Vicky put me in contact with the actual psychic who did this reading. That's who's coming on tonight. That's who's going to be on the show in 10 minutes or about 9 minutes. If she's punctual. She might not be. I don't know if psychics are punctual. If psychics are punctual, she'll be here in 9 minutes or less. But she is working, and she's taking time off to do this show with me, which I respect that, and I want to completely give 100% to her. So and give her that moment. I do have a mute. You don't get to listen to that. So I just hope my mute button is working. So hopefully it pops back on when I push it, and I'm back on. So I don't know if that worked or not. All right. Way to rep the homegirl, D-Wop. Nice. Thanks for noticing. Trust me. I called for backup tonight. I called for some freaking backup tonight. You think I said, Jay, I got the psychic. You want to come on? And she was, I don't know. She's probably on live right now. So I said, well, I'll be repping the hat. But then she was having internet problems. And I was like, well, if your internet problems continue, I will send you a link. But that probably wouldn't do any good because she's having internet problems. So, damn, I wish her internet stayed broke. So that's kind of the disclaimer on the psychic. It's not a disclaimer to discredit psychics. Now, some psychics are full of it. Okay, some psychics are full of it. All right. First of all, I don't know psychic Lisa, Linda, Lisa. I better get that right. Dang it. What does it say? What does it say? What does it say in my? Oh, I need to look. See, that's how terrible I am. You don't even know who your guests are? Shoot, I didn't know who this guest was 2 hours ago. Well, I did know who she was 2 hours ago because I had listened to her reading from 10 years ago, but that's not it. Well, it doesn't, to me. Oh, dude, I just psychic Lisa. That's it. I just had like a cramp in my arm, kids. Oh, it doesn't like that stretch. I need to do some yoga. Her reading was interesting. She seemed to tap into details. She tapped into details. Now, she told me, and I'll ask her about this when she comes in. She told me that she held back too that night. She held back during that reading because this wasn't something she planned, right? She didn't know Vicky was going to sit down and this was going to take place. You can hear this throughout the entire reading. Like, she's like, don't worry about anybody waiting in line. I don't care about anybody but you right now. I'm listening to your story. Don't pay attention to these. We have something. We're going through something. And so I thought that was really interesting. I'm going to ask her about all that. She's going to have some time. This is the Dad with the Phone podcast. If you haven't seen one of these, then chill back out. Go watch Sam. Go watch my podcast with Robin. Go watch my podcast with Jason. I got podcasts coming out on Monday with Ryan Matthews, celebrity dog trainer. I got a podcast with a hip hop artist coming up next week. So this is going to be a real podcast, straight up. I won't be watching chat. I don't care if my mods are here. I don't care if trolls show up. Don't try to be texting me, telling me there's trolls in chat. Hey, baby, this is for the world. Wake up. We're trying to wake up the Mindy Lee case. We're doing this for one purpose only. I could care less who ends up taking this video, cutting it, chopping it up, talking about it. I don't care. I want to make some noise for Mindy Lee. So that's what we're going to do tonight. and having someone on that did a reading with her mother 9 years ago, that I've been playing those audios to listen to a mother's journey through this case where she reached out to everybody. If you're just now joining because all of a sudden a psychic showed up, I'll tell you what, go back and listen to the law enforcement tape. Go back and listen to the 2 parts of the psychic. Go back and watch the videos where a mother was searching for answers. And she was searching for answers in a way that I hope I would do for my children. I hope that and you know what? When people ask me how I'm going to act if ever something ever happened to Nikki or my kids, I'm going to act like Vicky White. That's who I'm going to act like. So I'm going to magnify that times 2. So, woo, y'all got me ran pumped. All right. Had Cole ruin this one. I learned a lesson the other day, and then I was like, oh, I got a microphone with a mute button. I can mute, blow my nose. They can take it, make a screenshot out of that, make a meme out of that. Talk about how he blows his nose during a live video as he has a psychic on. I'm pretty pumped for this podcast. If you couldn't catch on that, I'm also scared. I already got that disclaimer out the way. I better look at chat before this thing kicks off because it's rolling. DWAP has me amped tonight. Oh, dear God. Big fart. No big farts. I heard those. I do feel very bad for the mother. Yes, yes, yes. What kind of soda? If you don't know what kind of soda I'm drinking, cream soda with real sugar. Kroger brand. Kroger brand. I thought it was the cheap brand. Nikki was like, them some bitches ain't cheap. Sponsored by Kroger. I burned some sage earlier. Whew. I got my headphones in, so when now I'm just nervous as heck. Look at this. We're about to bring a spiritual advisor, psychic on, Psychic Lisa. If you're just joining, this is not a psychic channel. This isn't something I do on a regular. Psychic Lisa gave a reading to Mindy Lee's mother. Mindy Lee went missing Thanksgiving Day, or the day after Thanksgiving, 2010. On December 1st, 2010, she was found frozen in the football fields of the Woodland Park High School. Surrounding her death is one of 2 things: a cover-up or kind of incompetent police work. Lots of things didn't happen. A lot of things did happen. You can listen to it for yourself. Now, when you're listening to this tapes, you have to realize that the people being recorded didn't know they were being recorded. I don't think it works with psychics that if they're being recorded, that they're such a good psychic that they know they're being recorded. I know that could be like an oxymoron, that if a psychic doesn't know they're being recorded, they're not a good psychic. But just to put it out there, some psychics don't get told they're being recorded. And so, but Colorado is a one-party state, so it was a legal act of recording that a mother did as she investigated. And so right now, probably looks like psychics might be a little tardy, but who cares? I got all time in the world tonight to talk. We're gonna keep respectful. Let me double check, make sure everything's working. I gave her a thumbs up just now. A message to wake her up just in case. She laughed. She's watching these recordings, so she knows what she's getting into. By the way, she had to have had some kind of prior knowledge of talking to Dad with the phone, because yeah. So we're gonna keep this fun. We're gonna keep this respectful. We hope to bring some information. More than anything, I hope to bring awareness. If I can get people to start smashing the share button, you don't even have to subscribe. Just smash the share button, because we need to wake some people up when it comes to Mindy Lee's case. I am going to be working a bunch of different angles on this, and I have some exciting news that I can't release yet, but I will release before the end of January. Before the end of January, I have some exciting news that will give me an opportunity to wake some things up. Okay. And by April, let's say this by April, if anybody can wake something up in the Mindy Lee case, by April, I'm going to make that happen. January, I can let you in on the news. April, we see what we can do. Uh-oh. We got Elisa on. We got Elisa in the house. She got her headphones on. Look at this professional. My God, let me bring her on. Let me bring her on right now. We got you ready? Wait, let me talk to her first. I need to talk to her because I don't want y'all to listen to this.
Hi.
With it. I can hear you now. You can hear me, right?
Yes, now I can hear you and I can see you this time.
You can
Okay,
see
hi.
me.
Yeah.
So we are live right now, by the way.
Okay.
So
Hi.
everything else is up in the air. So hey, well, first of all, you're freaking awesome doing this on such short notice.
It's all good.
Um, you know, I don't I first psychic I've ever had on Dad with the phone. So
Okay.
um I I just did my disclaimer earlier because I absolutely believe in what you guys do and what I like to call it a calling or whatever the gift you have. I absolutely believe that. I believe that very much. My only question is always about, dang, should we get into those other sides? Should we touch those other things? So that's just my
Yeah.
belief, just so you know where I stand.
And I understand that. I completely understand that because if it wasn't happening to me, I'd probably be more like you. you know? But
Absolutely.
I've just learned to live with it and yeah, I deal with it.
So talk to us about that before we get into this
Sure.
case. Talk to us about yourself and about what you're actually just said there, like learning to live with this.
Yeah. I guess I should give you some of my background. I am a fifth generation psychic with my family on my mom's side. My great grandmother read tea leaves. My mom is an astrologer. I had no like desire to go into this per se ever. Like I
Okay.
have a completely different like career path that I was going to do. So for me to get into it was kind of I fell into it, and it's been 20 years basically. Like it's something that just kept evolving for 20 years. I had been a radio producer. My background is in radio and television and film, and I had gotten pregnant, and my mom was an astrologer working at a place, and she knew that I could read tarot cards because she had heard me talking to my friends. It was kind of a bar trick. I would look at things, and I happened to be pretty accurate, at the time. And I kind of lost my job when I was pregnant. My mom said, "Why don't you come and try to work at the store that I work at?" And at first it was 1 day, then 2 days, and then I ended up with an office, and it went from there 20 years ago. And I still do it full time professionally. So it wasn't anything that I decided I was going to go be a psychic. It just kind of, every time I've walked away, it keeps bringing me back in, and I've gone with it. I mean, I feel like I have a duty to share my gifts. And they scared me when I was younger. I never wanted them. I I ended up trying to take medication to stop them, as a matter of fact. But when I finally fell into the fact that the things that I was hearing or the things that I would see actually helped people, it made it a lot easier for me to go into it. Yeah. So
When we talked earlier, it was we'll keep this at Psychic Lisa, and
yeah.
you know that I don't want to out anything, but if you do this, this is your living. I
Mhm.
know that there are a lot of people very interested and very much receiving what happened and what they listened to. Like they
Of
were,
course.
those people are in, a lot of these women are into it and they love it. And when they were listening to your reading, people that have listened to readings, they were saying, oh my goodness, this woman's on, and different things like that. So let's step back 9 years ago. So
Yeah.
you told me in chat earlier that you hadn't listened to that reading, you hadn't heard that reading. And
No.
tell me about that experience when you just heard yourself from 9 years ago.
Well, I don't. Okay, so when I read, I don't remember things a lot of the times. It kind of like I read, and I encourage people to record them in some fashion if they want to, because if they ask me later on that day, even I may not remember what I said. So it kind of comes through me, like I tap into something. I guess I should kind of explain my gift a little bit so that people understand how this works.
Absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely.
so I've always had the ability to kind of see things before they happen, I guess is one way of saying it. And when I was young, it would happen. Hi. Sorry, my black cat. How typical, right? When I was young,
Jeez, I think I see a pussycat.
yeah, I have a few, so they may come up. When I was younger, it kind of happened a lot, uh, and I didn't like it because even though it would have been a forewarning of saying, "Hey, Dad, slow down the car. When we cross the bridge, we'll hit a cat or something like that," and stuff like that would happen as a kid. And my parents were like, "Okay," and they listened, and it was usually right. Um,
Is this like the like maybe not. So is
yeah,
this like the movie Next? Like there was that movie with Jack Nicholas where he kind of saw like the whatever the next 2 minutes was. Is there a time limit on what you would see when you say we cross the bridge,
it
slow down,
It
or
was kinda like that. Sometimes it comes in like that, like, I'll get flashes and I'll have to pay attention to them. As I got older, I started paying attention to them more. Um, and as I got into doing readings for people, I would allow it in if, yeah, if it was for the betterment of themselves. And it's kinda like using a muscle. I feel like I'm, like, coming from the pineal gland in a sense and, like, reaching out, if that makes sense. And so, if I think of, like, a web in time, or if I want to it's kinda like remote viewing too. Have you ever done anything about remote viewing?
no, man, you're the craziest woman I ever had on my podcast. But
Oh, no,
I'm
but
digging this.
I'm not that crazy, I
I
swear.
know I don't believe you're crazy. When I say that, it's an endearing. Please, please,
Okay,
please. I know that you and I don't know each other. I,
right.
I love what you're talking to me about. I'm super intrigued. I'm freaked out. I ain't gonna lie, but I have
You don't need to
never.
be.
Listen, I grew up in like a real traditional Christian home, and this like
I
stuff
did
was like
too.
this was like Satanistic shit, you know.
Mhm.
But I saw some stuff. I can absolutely tell you that I've seen some crazy stuff from other dimensions, whether it be in the spiritual or
Okay.
on psychedelic mushrooms. Either one, there's craziness, and I believe in all that. My only thing is, oh crap, how much do I want to touch that? You know.
Right, and, I was actually raised in a Christian household too. I went to a Christian school. I was That was what kinda scared me about what I could do, is the fact that it was always so, satanic or something like that, and who wants to think that they're, like, blessed with the darkness or anything
Yeah,
like
you
that?
know.
It's No, I have come full circle, and I realized that this is a gift from God, and God has given me this understanding on how to help people, and it's like a muscle that I've used, and I go with the light. Like, I try to help people from the highest spot, you know? And I realize that it's just something I can do. It's kind of like a singing voice. You can give people singing lessons, and unless they're gifted with something, no matter how many singing lessons they have, it's not going to be a good voice.
No,
But you could go into singing, and if you're blessed with it, that's your gift that you have, you know? And so I'm just kind of good at this.
no,
You know?
I believe that. So now hearing your background, I believe the gifts of God are without reproach. Like they
Yeah.
can't be taken or given. Like those things are from a creator, a master designer, someone who designed us all, and we're all designed with in intelligence and these gifts. And I absolutely believe that.
I've gone
I
deep into
yeah.
prayer and realized, I realize I've been given the understanding that I am to use this for good, and I mean, I'd love to use it for lottery numbers, like everybody else would think, okay, what you can do. But it's not for that. It's to try to help people. And yeah, and to accept the fact that I might be um, considered odd. That was hard. Nobody wants to think that you're odd or different than other people, and get past that and just do it. And I've gotten to the point where I don't care, so I just do it. For
It's, it's beautiful. And
yeah,
let me just, there's a lot of new people running in,
yeah,
and I'll engage with chat a little bit, but
sure,
I want to keep engaging with you, but um just to catch everyone up, you do this is what you've done for 20 years. So
yeah.
when someone wants to poke fun or it doesn't understand those gifts, they also don't live the life that you do, and I absolutely understand that. So it's
If
beautiful.
they get to know me, they realize how this is not actually very strange at all. Like, you get to know me and you realize that this is just kind of part of who I am. I can turn it off. If I don't go into people's like energy fields or anything like that unless they want me to. I try to put a cap on it unless I'm doing it like in sitting and actually doing a reading or whatnot. But I do get hits on people all the time. I used to waitress when I was younger, and this is what used to drive me crazy. I would know things about people that I shouldn't know, and like I would ask them, hey, are you going to Argentina next week? And they'd be like, how'd you know that? And I would tell them, hey, get on, make sure to take the bus to some place because I just got this hit that you needed to do that, or something like that. So, uh,
There's a reason why I didn't get this gift, because I still be messing with folks. Um,
yeah.
so okay, so we got it.
Okay.
This is you. This is a part of you. This has been you. 10 years
Mhm.
ago, this was you.
10 years ago, this was me. And that recording was actually at Celebration Metaphysical Fair, that's done for 3 days in Colorado Springs. And it was actually 20-minute reading slots. So we went really long.
Oh,
And so people,
it was brilliant. I was like, every time you were turning, you could tell she was like, "Oh, my time's up." You were like, don't worry about them. I don't care about this
I didn't
line.
care.
I don't care about nobody." Me and you were talking, and I did want that. I'll just go right there.
Hmm.
There was a connection immediately. There was a
Yeah,
connection. Tell me about that, because in my mind that became real evident at the first timer ding, right? At the
right.
first time when, oh wait, I don't care about a line. I don't care who's in line. And it was, yeah, it may have been a lot longer. It actually could have gone longer. The first recording I've just listened to is an hour and 23 minutes or something.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, tell us about that connection as Mindy's
Well,
mom, Lisa, or
she
Vicky,
came up
walked
on
up.
like the second or third. She came up like as the fair was kind of winding down, like, and so I had already read probably 30 people before her, and I knew nothing of her, except for the fact that I took like a quick lunch break with my mom, and she said, "Hey, I met somebody that I'm sending to you. You've got to check this out. I just know you're the person that needs to talk to her." And I was like, "Okay." So I my mom sometimes my mom was in the psychic fair too, and she's a lot like me. She's very intuitive. She uses astrology instead, but everybody has different tools, right? So I was like, okay, we'll send her over. And she had given her my name. So when she came up, I didn't really know anything about anything because I don't watch the news. I think it's depressing. And I had no clue. I was living in the time, I'm still living in the Denver area. So I had no idea what was going on in Colorado Springs at the time. So I guess this was a popular case or something like this, but I had never heard of it. So I didn't know who this person was sitting in front of me. And I started zoning in and starting getting a connection. And when you get that type of connection, you know how important it was. Very important. I knew what I was channeling into, like tapping into, was important. I had a sketchbook with me, and I started drawing like a house and trees. And you can hear me describing and trying to figure out like the placement on like what I was seeing. And that's usually how I work. I'll have cards like I do right now, and I was just kind of drawing and seeing it. And it was too important to do anybody else's reading. They can get a reading, and the people who read with me know this. They know that like I may spend more time with somebody before me, if before them, if they're in line or something, because it's important. And so I knew that whoever was like in line after her would just have to wait, and we'll get there when we get there.
It's brilliant because
Yeah.
I mean, it really speaks to It speaks to your gift, and I noticed it. I mean, I don't know psychics. I've never listened to them, never like again. But when I was listening to this and watching people's response, I was like, you can say what you want about it, but this lady, there's dollar bills walking away, and she continues to talk to Vicky, and Vicky told me, and I'm sure it's true, but Vicky said you didn't charge her anything, and you
I
and
probably didn't.
yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, a dollar is a dollar. And yes, it's how I make my living. But like I said, sometimes things are more important than money. And this was much more important than money. I can't put a price tag on this. I felt compelled to help her. And it's not about the money. It's about the help you're doing. Right.
It's
So,
brilliant. It's
yeah.
I bless you for that. I pray that the last 10 years, that the blessing that you received from that alone has multiplied 100 over. And
Oh,
so
thank
that I
you.
love that. I pray it continues that. So we got to get to this reading. I got
Sure.
to talk to you this, and I only have you right for a couple, like 30 more minutes, right? Or
Whatever you want. I'm good.
oh, you're good.
I'm
Don't tell
good.
me that. Don't tell me that, because these people, they got questions.
Well, we'll let
So,
it flow and see how it goes. I mean,
awesome.
you know,
Awesome.
I never know. Listen, I never go on video, so this is kind of like,
Oh, this is
yeah,
new.
yeah. I usually just do audio, so this is kind of a new thing for me, and we'll just go and see where this takes us. Okay.
Oh, you're doing awesome then.
Thank
I
you.
thought you were a pro on this already, so that's awesome. Um you have that connection. You kind of have a little heads up from mom, and I hear you reference that actually in the audio. You reference something about your mom, and that I thought that kind of threw me for a second, because
Right.
I was like, what is she? Wait a minute, who is she talking to? That lady just said her mom, so now it totally brings context to the whole thing. So that makes total sense.
Well,
Um,
apparently my mom was in the fair, and apparently Vicky sat down with my mom, and my mom said, "Hold up, wait, I think you should talk to my daughter instead." And my daughter's on the other
oh,
side of, because we don't sit next to each other or anything. Is on the other side of the auditorium, and she told her, go talk to her because she's really good with this. Like I'm very good at tuning into stuff like this. So yeah.
so this is when you talk about your mom too doing this. This is in your DNA.
Yeah.
Like this is
It's
a
we joke about it being the Irish part of me. Yeah. It seems
so
like it's the Irish side.
And when you grew up in that, I got to go back now. You grew up in a Christian home or whatever. Your
Yeah.
mom Christian, same thing. She had these
Yeah.
same kind of deals.
It was very low. I mean, even my grandma didn't practice, like she was very formal, and it wasn't in her generation where she could like come be out in the open about it. But her mother read tea leaves, and people would come over to sit with her and have tea with her, and she would like help give them guidance and stuff. So it goes back beyond that too. And so my mom has the cognition, the precognition, and just sixth sense as well. She started coming like out in the open about it in her 40s, after I was like 18 or something like that. And but she had always kept it quiet because it was not something that you brought up in the church or anything like that. She ended up going to a Unity church, which is much more open, but I was actually raised in a Presbyterian church, and everything was satanic, from Ozzy Osbourne to, so I was taught to, you know ignore it. Try to ignore it, at least. Yeah.
So, obviously I hadn't seen your credentials, but
Yeah.
from what I just understand, I pretty much got the best psychic going right now, because it's like
Oh,
four or five generations back. This just seems to happen a lot on my show. I don't try to go get the best, but if I was talking to two psychics and someone just told me that 5 generations, 3 generations, 4 generations of this stuff on top of the background you grew up in, it's cool to have an expert on tonight when it comes to the psychics.
I better give props to my dad in case he sees this too. My
Absolutely.
dad's my dad's a doctor, and it's not. he wouldn't call it psychicness, but
Okay.
my father has a gut, my gut feeling, you know. Anytime my father says my gut feeling is this, it happens, you know. And so my dad would always know when I was upset, when I was like thousands of miles away in college, wouldn't speak to him for weeks, and he'd call me. He's like, "What's wrong?" You know, he'd know these things, and he was a obstetrician, and babies would come at all hours of the night, you know, and he wouldn't leave, but all of a sudden he'd jump up and think, I have to go now, you know. So my dad has it too in his own way, but it's very, hey guys, stop it. It's very, you know, because he's of a medical profession, he just calls it his gut, but
I
he's definitely in tune as well.
So it has many names, but
Yes.
it's the same gift. It's the same
Yes.
gift.
I
has
see that very clearly.
has many names, and people do, because of whatever religious, cultural beliefs. It gets shadowed. Maybe it misses a generation and call it one thing, but then it shows itself again in the daughter, and now we're in a different generation.
Right.
20 years later, it's become a career for you. You've
Hmm.
taken the gifts that you obviously enjoy doing. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, you want to help
I've learned
people.
to appreciate it. Most
Yeah.
definitely.
So well, we got context on you. We got
Okay.
context on location.
Hmm.
So Vicky's at this fair. She's talking. She's talked to your mom. Your mom kiboshes that and says, "Oh, I got somebody better, my daughter." And
Right.
then um, Vicky sits down with you. And do you know you're being recorded?
Sh I don't remember, but I'm sure if she asked me to, I would have said yes. I mean, people record me all the time, so
Okay.
it's not. I didn't record it, but if she had had a recording, I mean, that would have always been okay with me.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't even pay attention to that. I just
Okay.
go. Yeah.
Well,
So
for instance,
I know she didn't with a lot of people, but
yeah,
she
yeah,
would have had my permission. If so,
yeah.
I don't remember if she told me or not.
Fair
Yeah.
enough, because people recorded you all the time, and it's
Right.
not like you were worried about it. Hashtag, that's another reason why you probably, like, if nobody, it's the real deal. If you're not afraid to be recorded, that's brilliant, because you know what's coming out of your mouth. It lives forever. So I love that attitude with what
Right.
you do there.
Well, there's a lot of information that comes through, and sometimes notes or recordings, I think, are the best way to go, because you will never remember everything that someone says to you if it's rapid firing, you know. So recordings are good. I
It's
stand by
awesome.
what I say. I don't always remember it, but you know, if it comes out, it comes out for a reason.
Well, that's a
Yeah.
brilliant thing to have too. So if you ever get in court, you can just be like, "Listen, I don't always remember what I said, so I don't
Never had to go to
recall."
court over it, so that's a good thing. Yeah.
No, it's great. So she sits down.
Hmm.
And now that you let's go, because you listened to that recording today, or
Hmm.
I don't know if you got to listen to all of it, but
I did. I
okay.
did.
So you listened to it. Uh, what do you think 10 years later, and you listen to
Wow.
yourself?
Um. Well, first of all, the first thing I noticed was I was not like, there's so many things that I don't remember. Like, I don't remember saying anything about a knife or anything like that. I mean, I've talked to Vicky a couple times, you know, since then we've had some communication as the years have gone by, but there's tons of stuff that I don't remember saying at all. So, like, I don't remember about the plaid or describing the people or any of that. So, it was like kind of neat to hear and go, okay, that's interesting. I wonder, you know, it got me like thinking about what I know now, and I'm like, hey, that's not bad. You know, I'm painting a picture that I can see, and it fits the picture that I've been seeing as it gets more in time as well. Like, there are things like I had no idea there was a knife, that I remember cognitively, but apparently there was. So, you know, yeah, and there are more players in it. I mean, I'm hearing things and hearing how they've pieced together from the time that I started not knowing anything and how they're falling together. I'm like, this is really cool. There are things that maybe um, should still be looked into. Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah, and for me, this is the reason I'm even doing this. I actually live in Woodland Park. I, I, I
Oh
remember.
boy.
No,
Okay.
I do. I live here. I was here when they found Mindy. And I just kind of fell into looking into some other things, because we just had another case with a woman. And but it, so min but I have over the last year looked into this case with and talked with Vicky and stuff. But this is the reason why I'm behind it. It's not I'm not also just some random YouTuber. I actually live in Woodland Park, and
Okay.
um and
Did
so
you read what I wrote you, like, in the first text? And when I said, read my
yeah, I
text?
did,
Okay.
and
That's
so
important.
no, I
That's
did. And are you talking about like where you held back on some things?
yeah.
Is that what you're talking about in those things?
Well, I'm gonna be really frank with you. I
What
kinda scared
and the 300 other
and
thousand people that are
whoever
going to watch this?
decides to hear this, there is more to this case than just this case. I feel it's like wrapped up in a ball of yarn, and you may pull at this string and everything may unravel, but you're gonna see maybe this case is one thing, but it's wrapped up with a lot of other nefarious stuff that's going on up there, which is kind of yeah.
Yeah, you're talking to the right guy right now.
Yeah.
So when it comes to Woodland Park, I've been here 10 plus years, and I am absolutely understand what it. I understand that there is some nefarious things. That's a nice way to say it.
Yeah.
I like to say evil things that happen around here. I was actually on a phone call today for 2.5 hours with the people in charge, and and told them straight about good and evil. There's evil that happens, and then there's good, and there's some evil up here. And so
Yeah.
and I believe that absolutely when it comes to the Mindy Lee case, I believe that um the motive for Mindy's murder, Mindy's death, if we call it a death or a murder, whatever, I believe the motive behind that um it does stem into some evil branches. With that being said, and now I'm remembering more about your text about the safety, being careful, those kind of things when we're
Yeah,
talking
I
about
mean,
this.
I feel depends who gets to see this, right? Uh,
Trust me, I can tell you who's watching this. A
okay.
lot of city people, a lot of people in this town. Cops are watching this. 100% the cops watch every video I put out, and
Okay.
so they're watching. But I'm on. I'll talk to these cops. Don't, and I'm not scared of the men with guns. The difference between me and you, and like the difference between us,
Right.
because I have this connection right now and everyone else, is that when you know things like and I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not a psychic or a reader, but I believe in the afterlife. I believe in that stuff. And so at
Yeah.
that point, that doesn't scare me. This is just the beginning of a long trip we're going to be on. And so once you're not scared of death, the truth looks brilliant. It looks brilliant. And so I want to bring light to this case. I believe people know about this case. And
There are people who know much more than they're saying. And there's a let's see, what do I feel like saying?
you're free to go. You're free to
Woodland Park is a small town. I don't know how many people are there. It's not very large. There's a town of people who a lot of people know each other. They grew up, they went to school together, or they live near each other. And it starts from the high school and it goes into the drugs and it goes a little later in life to the 20s and 30s where there are people there. And I know sex trafficking, I think, is going on up there, and I also feel that there's corruption in certain factions, like the police, and it's because of who people know, who they're related to, what they're involved with. Um, it's interesting. It's a gateway to the mountains, and a lot of things go up in those. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in those woods. Yeah,
I'm with you.
yeah.
You can you keep going. I mean, what kind of
Can you keep going?
I
I
love it. I
keep
love
okay.
it. So let's go. Okay, so let's say we agree there's stuff that goes on here. There's evilness that goes on here.
Right.
Now, how does that focus into um, it was the Mindy Lee case just a cog in a bigger wheel? Like, it's just
That's a
one
good
little
way to put
cog?
it. Well, here's the thing. A lot of the same players are involved with different things. Okay, so that's a start. It is a cog in the wheel. Mindy's case, Mindy knew more about something that she shouldn't have known, and she wasn't going to say anything but I think she knows more about a different murder. Okay. I can say that. I feel okay with that. I think she knows this girl, Kim. I want to go to Kim for a second
So
because
just to catch everyone up, Kim was reported. Kim and Shannon are those who reported Mindy jumped out of the car. They were supposedly the last people to see her.
she didn't jump out of car, guys.
I under Go for it. Tell us about Kim.
Kim. Okay, so and I kept calling Shannon Sawyer. That was a mistake when I heard that. I was like, oh, I was calling the wrong S word, but that was who I meant, not Sawyer. There's Shannon and Kim, and I guess they're boyfriend and girlfriend. Uh, and I think Kim still lives up there. So, in my humble opinion, so I can say this, I think she knows a lot more than she's saying. She was protecting someone, and she knows it. I think she was protecting a couple people. She had a big mouth though, and she told Mindy some things, and Mindy knew some things. And while it was cool at first, hearing today that it was like running with a pack of coyotes and them turning on her. I remember feeling that energy, like I remember like being at that reading and really feeling like they were tight, they were tight, they were tight, and then it turned because they were scared and they didn't want her to say too much. And I want to say I don't believe the car. I don't believe that she jumped out of a car. I think that's a fallacy. I think they said that because they were trying to figure out how they could say she was running in the woods and stuff. I had a strong sensation that the kid was fine. The little girl who was there, she was in a different room watching VCRs or something like that, or like DVDs in a different room. So, for anybody who's worried about Mindy's child, I felt like she was in a separate room and was completely not aware of what was going on. Uh, she wasn't like, I don't feel like she hopped out of the car like they said she did. There was some things there that, well, that whole story doesn't make sense anyways, but I didn't feel that was the truth at all.
Yeah, like the entire story kind of feels like it's not true, and so but we sometimes try to give elements of truth, like, oh, maybe they were in the car, but they could have been back in somewhere else. They could have been anywhere. They could have been in a house. They could have been It could have all happened in a weirdness, and they just made this entire well they made up an entire story that I feel they made up
It's not
even.
true. I mean,
Yeah.
I would like, I don't, nothing in my being says that that is what happened. With what I saw from the day that I started with this to actually what ended up happening, that there isn't a recording of, or maybe Mindy has, not Mindy, maybe Vicky has the recording. I actually did go up to the house with my mom and we did meet that next week.
I got that recording.
You do?
I just haven't
Okay.
I haven't released it yet.
Okay.
We're trying to be strategic and
Okay.
trying to make as
Into a
much
timeline.
noise. Well,
Okay.
it's noise, but no. And then you came out of nowhere today, and so no,
Okay.
people will listen to that, and then it doesn't matter. But it's brilliant. So yes, I
Okay,
have that.
so Tammy says, so you think they were in the vacant house? At first I thought they were, okay, but it wasn't even. Yes, okay, Marina, it's fabricated. I can now see the chat. At first, I thought that that they were like maybe trying to get the copper out of the house. They knew it was vacant. They may have been looking for some money for something else. Like I felt they were up to no good, trying to case the house in a sense, or get in there to see what maybe could be stripped and sold. That was like my gut on that, okay?
Okay.
But what was crazy, can I go further and go to that day for a second and say what I saw?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
okay.
No, this is totally different. You just tell us everything that you're thinking and seeing.
Okay, so and I'm glad that Vicky did probably record it, because there was I got there, I looked around, I felt around, and then I looked, like I came outside the house and I looked around the cul-de-sac, and up to the right, diagonally above the cul-de-sac, I focused in on a house and it gave me chills. And I was like, wait a second. None of this took place in this house. Not really. There was a house diagonally up on the corner, was the same house that I was seeing when the week before. It was like, and I'm still getting chills about it now. It was the same house that I saw a week before that was in like my precog, in the sense of my visions. And I kind of did this walk. She'll tell you about like me, like I kind of took off and I said, this is how she ran. Like I was seeing what was going on. She escaped a house that was up diagonally, a different house. And that house is owned by somebody. It's important. Now, I wish this is something that I need Vicky to look at because she knows the answer to this. That house was owned by somebody that's important in this case. It was actually owned by somebody that knew Kim and Shannon. They were friends, but it's like there's some important. There was a party at that house. That was where she was. She wasn't at the vacant house. She was at the other house, and that's where I think she was stashed. That's where I think the oval tub is too. But I think like she was involved in like maybe thinking about getting into and breaking into the house, and then she didn't want to do it. And then my gut was they were kind of messing around, and another guy came in. I got this very strong sense. So it was like a couple of them hanging out, and the kid in the back room like watching something, and they were doing something like in like the den, or they were like messed up and hanging out. And I felt that Mindy was just kind of hanging out with them. She wasn't really doing the drugs, but Kim and her boyfriend, and there was this third person, and he's the one I think that is involved with the other murder.
Okay.
So I think Mindy knew about another murder, and this other person came in to their party with them, and they were kind of getting a little I don't know, a little raucous. Like, how do you say that? Rowdy, maybe is I guess the word I was looking for.
I got you.
And he's the one with the background story that is the scary one. Actually, he's
Yeah.
scarier than Shannon, whoever this other guy is, the third guy that I kept talking about.
Yeah. There's so Mindy, this, and even the story that Vicky tells is that Mindy knew about a murder that had happened, and this murder's documented that had happened out on Gold Camp Road, which is not far from.
That's down in the Springs,
Yeah,
right?
it
Yeah.
runs from the Springs all the way to to Victor, Colorado,
Oh, I
which
didn't know
then,
that.
yeah, so it
Okay.
runs, it's actually a dirt road. I've taken it many times. It runs all the way from Colorado Springs, like behind Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, all the way to Cripple Creek. There's an old trail up there called Captain Jack's and a lot of different trailheads, but nevertheless, there's actually been a lot of bodies dumped off Gold Camp because it's a cliffside. So you could dump bodies off a cliffside, and
Wow.
they, unless somebody came upon them accidentally, they would never find them. And so yeah, so there was a body up there that was found completely naked. It was a guy, and even the report goes, there's actually an article that I've been given that talks about that murder. It talks about who was arrested in that murder, but there were other people involved in that murder that
Got away.
absolutely got away, didn't do any
Right.
jail time or anything. And so there is a possibility, like you're saying, a third person, and it would make sense in a sense that that third person was never brought up, that they came up with this fabricated story, that Kim and Shannon would go along with it because they would know what was this guy was capable of and different things like that. And
There were
so
more than 3 people in the disposal of her body. Okay. It took a few people to get that done. And the guy that was the third guy was bad news. And Kim was protecting because she was told to, and she was protecting her boyfriend at the time too. So there's more to that. And there was this other thing that I got, and this was later on. I kept getting flashes of a garbage dump up there. Okay, like there was like a garbage dump, and somebody being disposed of rolled up in a carpet or something like that that has to do with some of this too. And I don't know. Somebody's got to look that up for me. I don't know what that's pertaining to, but it's connected in some way. So
somebody
this may have
being
been.
like another,
It was a female.
a
Female.
female.
Female rolled up in like a carpet or dumped up in a garbage dump up there. That has to. But this has to do more with sex trafficking, but has to do with these people. So
Okay.
you may have to look into what was found in the last 9 years.
Yeah, I can I
Maybe
can
somebody knows
confirm. Well,
about it.
first of all, I can confirm that there has been some rumors and some things around sex trafficking in Woodland Park, Teller County. I already know that. There's some smaller, uh, probably not so well known cases that were kind of hush hush and things.
Yeah,
Things were.
they use trucks for them. They use the back of like what do you call those back of trucks that are like big trucks, the backs. They put the people in the backs and they sleep, like, cuz I've seen it. They keep them in a house, but then they like have them have sex in the back of a truck. They kind of make it up into like a brothel, like a moving brothel. So that's why it's hard to find, is because they have I saw them having spots that moved around. Okay.
Yeah, again, I mean, if
I
you're
don't know.
asking me if this stuff is true, I could tell you that they've been doing prostitution and there've been hookers in the streets of Cripple Creek as out in the public side until 88, 89, 90.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, so
Yeah.
like the idea that that sex trade and that sex trafficking just went away, I don't believe that at
No,
all.
it's
And so, yeah,
mobile. Just
yeah, no,
it's
I got you.
mobile. It's a mobile thing, and that's I got okay. So I've looked into this a few times, like intuitively, like with Vicky and whatnot, and that was one of the things that I noticed was like there's a ring of people there that are all into something very corrupt. Some people have brothers on the police force or family, I should say, and there's some people who are in the drug business because there's a big meth business up there. We're not just talking about growing pot. I think there's pot up there, but this is a bigger trade. It's all interrelated, and there's some people in some really sick stuff.
If you're getting any names, drop a name or two, and I'll take a look into it. I ain't scared. I'm just saying. But
Um,
but that would put the fear in you. I understand, because these people we're
I think
talking
they've
about are
been
dangerous.
done. I mean, because I'm up where I'm at, I don't know anything about your news down there. I've never looked that
Yeah.
up or anything, but I guarantee you, if you do some research, there's a string of girls that have been killed up there. Like that, either know too much, or there's been people, young people. We're talking, you know, a teen. We're talking teens and young people that have been killed that are from decent families that just, whether they worked at the ice cream parlor or know too much at the bar or something like that, they know stuff and they've been killed. And it's because people are scared that people will talk. And it's not just one case, they're not unrelated.
I would tell you guys she's dead on, but you guys already know that if you've been watching Tap the Phone. So no, I'm right with you. I'm absolutely right with you. Um, and as shocking as it may sound coming out of your mouth, again, I live here, and so I was here during that case. I was here during the Joshua Maddox case, where a young boy was stuffed up in a chimney and presumed missing. Then when he was
By
found, they
by the
did that.
school, right?
Yeah, it was real close to the school.
Okay.
And there's a lot around that case that I haven't gone dug into yet. When it comes to Mindy's case, there's the way she was found, some things that we know to be true about the first of all her placement, how she was there, and then the way that she was found is super suspicious because they had searched that area prior. In the days before, nothing, and then all of a sudden she just shows up on the football fields. But in your opinion, that is simply just a cover up, a ruse
Oh,
to what it was.
absolutely.
So,
That school officer, ooh,
well,
uh,
okay, so that school officer, I've already said his name.
okay,
It's Sean Goings, and to this very
he's involved
day,
in it.
yeah. So when you say that, I would normally be scared, but I'm not, because he has tied himself to this case publicly, so he doesn't get to hide anymore as far
Right.
as that's concerned. Like, here's the deal: Sean Goings is no longer on the police force as a Woodland Park police officer. He is employed by the Woodland Park School District at the high school as the secure
Interesting.
as the
Isn't that interesting though?
it is absolutely interesting, as the security director. So he is not a a
He
Woodland Park
still
police
has
officer.
keys to the back fence,
Oh
doesn't
no,
he?
no, he runs. He would have more access than even the police officers, and because he was the resource officer there for many years, and then now he's moved into an official stance with the school. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I have heard many stories about Mr. Goings over the years, and actually have had more messages pop up in my local box from people who have dealt with him, and that school resource officer and how they've been around children and some things. There has been some very evil, dark things that have happened in the Woodland Park School District.
Well, let's just kind of say, make believe a story. Pretend there's a guy who has maybe he's in his 20s and he has a younger brother in high school, and his younger brother in high school deals for the high school, but the one in the 20s knows Sean and maybe some other people, and this is how the high school gets involved in high school kids. Okay, I mean, there's a chain of people that know each other from being the younger brother to the older brother. And take a look who's on the police force on the brothers. Who's the brother of whom? I don't know who the players are, but I guarantee you they're
I
really
got I mean, I can start dropping names. I might be under a court order right now that I don't need to drop a few names, so I'm going to
okay.
wait on that. But no,
But can
we
you
all
tell me
know.
something? Can you tell me if they're brothers? Are they best friends? Are they brothers? This has gone. These people, from my gut, they've known each other from grade school up. They've
Well,
known each other.
there are definitely
They're brothers or sisters. No, more brothers and not really so much sisters. They know each other.
yeah, there are definitely some brothers that are in law enforcement in Teller County. Now,
Well, one brother may be the good boy, and the other one may be selling the weed or the other stuff and not working so much. You know what I'm saying? There's like the good brother, and then there's the other brother, and I think they stay thick.
well, I mean, you could be describing recent cases too, with the Kelsie Bharath case, just simply
I
because.
don't know that case. Is this
Yeah, so Kelsie Bharath, she actually, it is, it will just freaking make you more sick because it is parallel to the Mindy Lee case in a sense of Kelsie went missing on Thanksgiving Day,
what? Okay.
and she has never to this very day been found. But they just convicted a man named Patrick Frazee.
Okay. Dark
To
hair? Is
yeah,
Patrick
he
Swayze, does he have dark hair?
he does have dark hair,
Okay.
and he has a brother who is a Colorado Springs police officer. And actually, his brother testified against him in court.
Ooh.
Patrick Frazee was sentenced to life in prison without the chance of parole, plus 156 years,
Wow.
plus some extra time.
With
Now,
no body.
with
They must have had enough compelling evidence to do that with no body.
yeah, so do you when you here I'll just give it to you. Yeah, he had another girl. There's another girl involved. She turned state's witness on him. She actually hasn't been sentenced yet. She is actually getting sentenced on January 28th. I'll be live at the courthouse. I've been going to all the court
So there were
trials.
3 of them again, right? Because I just picked up the 3 of swords.
Well, there you go, card reader. She picked up the 3 of swords.
For me, that means there's 3 people involved, and it was like a kind of triangle, like an argument triangle.
So the story that Crystal Lee tells, which is the girlfriend, she said that Patrick told her that on Thanksgiving Day he had laid out some candles. He blindfolded Kelsie Bharath, and he beat her to death with a bat.
Why would he do that?
He did that. He did that in the apartment up the street, literally on the street that I live on, up the street from me. This happened up the street in these condos. Now and then the story goes that he takes the body and he hides it out at a ranch. His girlfriend of many years comes down to clean this mess up. So she comes down from Idaho,
Uh-huh.
and she helps
Was there a wood chipper involved?
no wood chipper involved. There was the story goes, and this is
Something that cuts up the person?
um no, but he may have dismembered her in the apartment because she was stuffed into what they believe of like a the story is that the girlfriend tells. And this is all like, by the way, this is all came out in trial. These are like sworn
Okay.
affidavit stories. This is how they convicted him of murder. So whether some people don't believe this story at all, but there is evidence, phone pings, video
Right.
footage. There's things that they convicted this man of murder without a body. But the story goes, he put her in a tote, put her in the back of the truck. She comes down, helps clean up, and then over a couple of days, they take the tote, they burn the tote and the body.
Oof.
Then they dispose of the ashes. No one knows where. They
In
spent
the
200
forest.
well, they spent $250,000 searching the dump in South Colorado Springs looking for any evidence because he told his girlfriend that he either disposed of her in the dump or he disposed of her in the river. Well, they couldn't search a river, but they spent a
Mm.
bang load of money searching a dump, but they never found anything.
And they wouldn't find anything in the dump. Not for that. They might find other
But
things.
this
But my
is
gut is that he,
yeah.
like, yeah, it was. I felt she was completely dismembered. Like that's why I said, was it a wood chip or something? I felt a lot of little
Yeah.
pieces, and my gut on that one is it's in the forest somewhere. Like he did something with it, probably near a river. I don't think he actually put her in the river, but you're not gonna find it. You're not gonna find
Well,
that.
yeah, he's in prison in South Colorado Springs for the rest of his known life.
Good.
That the other girl comes down, and the worst thing about it is the DA. He said it out loud. It's on the record. He made a deal with the devil, and the girl, the most, I mean, maximum time she could ever serve is 3 years. And so, and she helped clean up and dismember, or she helped clean up, dispose of.
He dismembered
Yeah,
it.
no.
I
That's
bet was he a hunter? Because I felt like he was able to chop like
oh no, he was a horse farrier cowboy.
okay.
Um,
Yeah, he could do I can't even
that's a whole
butcher
nother
a chicken.
case. That's a whole
Yeah,
nother case. But the
okay. Sorry,
similarity,
jumping into it,
no,
yeah.
but the similarities are it all happened on Thanksgiving. Patrick, the younger brother, it just takes me to the brothers, is how we got here. The Patrick, the younger brother, would have been about 10 years younger than Mindy, but his older brother would have been pretty close to the same age. And his older brother obviously is the good cop brother. But that nevertheless, there are police officers right now on the police force in Woodland Park, Colorado, that are brothers. There are husband and wife combos
Yeah,
of police officers. There are cousin combos of police officers. It definitely is a tight, close, family knit police
it is.
force.
And these people, like I said, like even if they you are completely right that people know things. This is a like you know, you never snitch, you know. But rumors are going on. These people know things. Even the younger brothers know. People have been drunk and talking about this. You know, people know certain things, or there's rumors that like hush hush things that are said. I don't know if they're getting out to the community, but within this circle of people, there are people know things. People absolutely know things, and they don't say anything because people they care about are involved with it, or people they know, or they're scared of the people. I think there's been like the people who know what they've done, and they're afraid they're going to end up like the people who knew and all of a sudden disappeared.
No,
So
I'm absolutely with you. So and that's it. That's why I'm doing this. It's been 10 years. We bring up Mindy's name again. We start talking about this case. The only way anything happens in a justice standpoint is that somebody's going to have to come forward that hasn't come forward, and it may cost them something. They may have
yeah,
been living with guilt. I've been praying for the condemnation guilt to fall on them just so that they won't be able to sleep at night until they come forward. But you can send some spirit juju that way if you want to read a card or something.
I want
You can
Kim
use
to
that
come
good stuff.
forward. I think Kim, if she ever gets herself 100% clean, she's a little older now. I don't think everything went so well with Shannon. I don't think She knows a lot more, and anybody who knows her should tell her, get her ass a deal and like open up like what she knows. But I think she's afraid.
And Kim is still in the area.
Okay.
So they are still very much here. I can tell you that outside of me and then probably the internet world,
Hmm.
outside of me and Vicky, Vicky is will scream Mindy's name till the day she's not on this earth, and I love that about her. She has a mother's love that nobody could touch, and so she's going to continue to scream her name. But for me, I'm screaming Mindy's name. I'm trying to bring awareness to this case. And you just happen to be caught on recordings, you know and
Yeah.
and and like you said, there are more recordings to come.
Yeah.
And so but for me, these diaries, I mean, I have them right here actually, but I've already dumped them. But Mindy's mom pulled these discs out of like a,
Yeah.
a pink bag, and I was sit down with her. I was in face to face with her, and she pulled these things out of, and then she had a pile of police reports and spreadsheets and all that crap.
She's
And
amazing.
no,
The, the
absolutely.
the absolute detail that she did to have the wherewithal to say, "I'm going to record this. I don't believe this. She was better than an investigative. What do you call it? Investigative reporter.
Investigator,
She was
private
better than the
investigator.
police. The police didn't want to look into it. They thought, open shut, she's a meth head. Let's go. And that's not the case. And they wouldn't allow her to exhume the body. I think she tried to get the body exhumed and they said no, right? As of now, it's still not exhumable.
Yeah, they haven't exhumed the body, and I think what held her up with exhuming the body the first time was they wouldn't close the case or something. And like as long as it was an open case, I think it's closed now. Um, I know for a fact that like some things that were said on a couple of your recordings, I have now heard when she was recording those people. So like
Mhm.
when she says it out loud that they didn't scrape underneath the fingernails of Mindy
Yeah.
Lee, like
Yeah.
I heard the medical examiner on a recording. I haven't released that one yet, but I've
Okay.
heard it, and I'm going to. I he says they didn't do this. Um, there
They tried
is
to close this as quickly as possible. And I don't know why I think that this was sent down to Colorado Springs, right?
Yeah,
And then
there was some back and forth between Teller County, and a lot of things get sent down to Colorado
right,
Springs or
because
get
it's a
sent
small place.
small. It's so small though, and I can say this about the elected official: the coroner's office is probably one of the most corrupt offices, elected offices up here, and I mean, so much so that this is a small enough town that if you do want to make someone disappear, if you do want to commit murder, if you do want to do a violent crime against someone, Woodland Park is like an ideal place to do it because one, they actively try to cover that stuff because they want to keep this mountain town, nice, gentle place, right? They want to keep that image. They also try to cover it by like incompetence. We're not staffed. We don't have enough people to do investigations properly. We have to involve other people. Sometimes that's good. In the Mindy Lee or in the Kelsie Bharath case, that's the only way they got the murderer without a body. In Mindy Lee's case, at that point they were just handing out hypothermias for with like every Costco cabbage you bought. Oh, you buy a Costco cabbage, somebody died of hypothermia in
Right.
Woodland Park, and
Right.
so like for the medical or for the coroner who wasn't a medical examiner, he doesn't have an MD, he's not a doctor, he's an elected official, and they would store those death records in a storage. And to this very day, they haven't even digitized our death records. They're stored in a
Really?
store. They're stored in a storage unit. It's so like that's what I'm saying. If you want to make someone disappear, you make a body disappear in Teller County, and then you throw the records in a storage unit. In
There's a question
chat.
in the chat
Oh,
asking me if I feel there's any DNA somewhere. Um, I was distressed when I found out that the car was gone and that the contents of the car uh, were like kind of gotten rid of, as well. because I think there was some evidence in the car. I think that it's 10 years later. Um, I don't necessarily think that DNA is going to be the breaking point in this case. It's somebody coming forward, and I'm gonna go lean into Kim again because I feel like her life will go so much better if she would move forward and like actually testify and come up and say what she knows. She is a very broken person, okay, and she had a lot of drug usage and there was a lot of stuff going wrong, and at the time she wasn't a very strong person. um and I think that as she gets older in life and moves towards recovery or moves towards trying to straighten herself out, she knows she's going to have to deal with this. And so my my gut, I'm hedging my bets on her. I've always said it, even from like 9 years ago. I feel like it may be around her friends. One of her friends says, "Hey, I know something now." I mean, this woman knows a lot more. And when you meet Vicky and you get to experience this lovely lady, you see how her health has been affected by this tragedy, and she is causing so many people grief by being quiet, and she needs to come forward and she needs to clear her soul because this is going to haunt her and nothing's going to go well in her life. Nothing is going to go well in her life. Even anything, there's going to be tragedy around her until she's, steps forward. I'm hedging my bets on her. Now I'm worried I say this because maybe people want to get rid of her quicker, but she has to live with the monkey on her back. And if she ends up dead somewhere soon, you know that it's because like people don't want to see her tell. But she has an obligation, a moral obligation, a soul obligation to step forward, and it's going to take a lot of strength, but she needs to do it. Yeah,
So she's probably listening, or she's going to get word, just because that's how the internet works today. It
it's
may
fine.
it may not have worked that way 10 years ago, but you know, this whole thing with Mindy, her mom says could be because she was going to come forward about another murder. And
Yes, Kim knows about that and a lot of other. I mean, she knows a lot more than. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that know things, but Kim is pretty much the key to this, I
do
feel.
you think that she is do you think she was is she the cause, or was she a part of the death or murder, or do you think she is just someone who's been trapped by what she knows and has been privy to this stuff? Like, is there
I feel that Kim. I will say this, and so not as to have so many haters towards Kim in some ways. I actually feel sorry for her. I feel that she was involved. Yes, she was involved in it, but she did not want Mindy hurt. She was really like she was a bystander to what happened
okay?
basically, and she couldn't help. I do think she was charged the task with her friends to help clean up the mess. Just like you're talking about this like ex-girlfriend that came up to clean up.
Yep.
I think like she was tasked with helping and keeping her mouth shut. But it was the men involved that I feel had more to do with it than her. I think she was very distraught and very scared because she didn't want anybody to get in trouble, and she was told, you know, uh, will bring you down too. So my gut is that Shannon's not going to is let me ask you something. It is 9 years later. I get the feeling that Shannon hasn't cleaned up his life any. Where's he?
I try. I got to be careful when I go down these routes, because I am so close to this thing. And
Okay.
so I really have heard about the Mindy Lee case just over this last year, and then
Okay.
I mean, literally days ago, I received these recordings, and I've been trying to take it at a Let's listen to a recording. This is 10 years of mom telling a story.
Okay.
Now, because I believe what you're saying about, hey, Kim coming forward, and I know she is around here because Vicky's told me this. She's
Okay.
run into her. She knows he's around here. Um, I Shannon's probably around here as well. Um, and all of that info will come out. I just have to be a little careful about that because I don't want to put, you start pissing off killers, you start pissing off killers, right? And so
Right.
I'm not scared of that. But I'm not like, I'm known, if I got Shannon's number, I'll call his ass up. Like, that's dad with the phone. I'll pick up a phone, and I definitely have had some murderers on my show. And
Sure.
so we've had probably a killer on our show that's still loose today. And so I'll call them up. But right now, like, I got to get through all these recordings, and like, you just happened to come on the day after I played one of your recordings,
Yeah, because I figured it meant as well.
and so,
Um,
no, I think it's brilliant, but I think that those people are going to play a role. But part of me feels like it may be someone that, like you said, Kim was at a party and she says, "Hey, I got to tell you about something. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, this happened with Mindy Lee." And like, and Kim may have confessed it to someone else, and that person, I think, has to come forward first, or something. I don't,
okay,
that's
well,
how I
here's
feel.
the thing. Kim bears the guilt that Mindy already knew something. She learned her lesson by saying something because she put everybody in danger by Mindy knowing and Mindy opening up her mouth that she knew. The bruising on the bruising on Mindy's face was because she got shoved down, like she got thrown down into the ground and whatnot. I think they probably slapped her around too, trying to wake her up and stuff afterwards too. But because that was the question that was in the
Oh, in the
right there.
chat, they asked about the
The
bruising. Yeah,
bruising on the face, yeah. I feel like they muffled her, threw her into something like boom, and I don't even know where the bruising is on the face, but I felt it was like on the cheekbones around here. Was it?
they had to do some. I haven't seen the autopsy pictures yet. I'm still having to pick
Oh,
those up.
I haven't seen them ever.
Yeah, and we're gonna get those. The bruising in which Vicky tells me about is on her face, and they had to do some reconstruction here for the open casket, and down, like, her eyes were, everything was kind of drooping and stuff. But they said it was because of her freezing and then having to thaw. And so it was hard for them. She was frozen for it took her 4 days to thaw out, when after they collected her off the football fields. And so,
Wow.
you know,
What about that? That sounds wrong on all levels. Like, how frozen do you have to be that frozen?
they said she was frozen solid,
I know,
which,
yeah, maybe, but it didn't come from being outside.
so do you get anything around that? Do you have any feelings around that? Because there is some.
I felt they put her on ice, or I felt like she was kept cold. I felt like she was kept cold in a bathtub at one point to try to keep her from, like, her heart racing too fast. Um, I don't think she was dead at first. I feel that she was really messed up on. That was the feeling that I always get with this. Like, okay, somebody had asked, but this is how I felt, and I still feel this. I feel like they used a needle to sedate her. I feel it. I feel like she got a hot shot in a sense to, like, make her, like, be passive, and and I do feel like they killed her eventually, but I don't think it initially started off as to kill her. But then when they realized that she was a liability, then I think it ended up killing her. Yeah. I think they tried to slow down her heart rate at one point, and I think that's why the ice bath was there in the beginning. And there must be something about ice bath slowing down. I don't know. Can somebody tell me why would you put somebody in an ice bath?
Yeah, you definitely try to bring somebody out of an overdose or wake up, trying to. It's got to be something to do with their circulation.
And I felt they moved her around. Because of everything that was going on, they didn't know what to do with her. So I felt like she was maybe put into, at one point, like, one of those big freezers or something freezing. Like, those big chests or something after she was dead. They knew she was dead, and they didn't know where to put her. and there were searches all around. The area was too hot to really move her too far. They had help with that. They had help with getting into the football field. They had help with putting her down. And I did not remember. I remember hearing that there was snow dumped on. Like, I don't remember hearing that at all. But just the whole snow dumping on her and whatnot to make it look like she was in the snow. She wasn't in the snow. She was in someplace else cold,
Gotcha. No, they said that she did have
like a
snow on her.
meat freezer for a hunter or something like that. But there's a bathtub and then like a meat freezer is what I got.
There is
That's-
some there I have heard
Again, who was the hunter? Which one of them's the hunter? I don't feel that
Oh, you mean
Shannon
out of
was the
them?
hunter. I mean, in the Friends, who's the hunter? Who had a hunting freezer? Who had, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like there's more to the story. I don't feel that. I think I get the fact that Shannon was kind of a wuss in a sense. I feel it's the third person that had the wherewithal to kind of get her place strategically, to keep her frozen. This other person was instrumental in a lot of what went down.
Do you feel that other person could be a police officer, could be the resource officer? Do you think it's that close that he actually found her and was a part of this, or did they use him as a patsy? Hey, let's put her here and let's send old Sean in to find her. He doesn't know anything about it. He just happens upon her, and like becomes the hero guy. Or do you think he had an active part in it?
I don't know that. I can try to check and see. I mean, that's a good question. I've got my cards here. Let me just take a look and see what I pull, what I feel. I don't know the answer to that yet. So, do I think the first question you asked me was, do I think he was the cop, the third person? No, don't think he was the cop. I think he knew cops.
Well,
I
he
think
would, yeah.
I think he knew he
Oh,
had
you
a,
think the third person was a new cops?
he knew them, like maybe his
Okay.
brother is a cop or something like
Okay.
that. I actually feel like he was a dealer. Or a hunter and a dealer is what I keep getting.
Okay.
He's many things, but he's not a cop.
Okay. Do you think the
Um,
cop had active knowledge of the crime, or is he just a an
I
un?
feel they. Well, here's the thing. I feel they asked him for a favor. I feel like they said, "Hey, we got ourselves in trouble. We need you to help us. We're going to be in trouble." I don't think. I mean, maybe they told him the whole truth. Not sure if they really told him the whole truth, but they gave him a story enough to him want to help them cover the case up. You know, and I think he did it out of loyalty because friends, family, people who are this close stick together. And the way he felt it went down wasn't maybe an accident, or it was something that went bad and he didn't want to see these people. I feel he felt that that Mindy was dead. So, you know, let's just not make this any worse by anybody going to jail. Let's just get this let's put her here. It's dark. People are looking, let's get this put here and they'll find her eventually. But they couldn't take her very far. I feel she was kept near where that house, like up at that house. I don't feel she was far from the site that she was found.
So not the vacant house, but the
No.
house I know where I actually know where you're talking about. So
Okay.
I'm gonna we'll just leave it at that, and I'll do some researching on who owns that and
Ask.
different things.
I know Vicky knows. Ask
All right.
Vicky. Who she knows which house I'm talking about. She knows what I'm talking about. I know she knows the connection. I think she even tried to tell it to me. I don't remember what she said. Like I didn't. I just know that she knew
Yeah,
who I was
there
talking
is some
about.
connection to those people in there, and we'll I'll have to go back over her
Again,
notes.
they were partying. This is a house that was known for partying.
So do you believe that when you say a party, is that, you know, 5 people, 10 people? Is there like how many
It
people do
wasn't
you?
a big car. It
Wasn't
wasn't
that
a big
big?
party that night. I
Wasn't
think
that
it was
one?
maybe 5 or 6 people. There were people coming in or out. It wasn't like, but this is a house that was known for partying and having parties. This was a bunch of young people. This was not people in their 40s or 50s. These are 20-year-olds back there, 20, 30-year-olds, the meaning of kind of like, I don't think all of them went to college, but they were all hanging out. It wasn't that night maybe that everybody was partying there, but that house was known for having, that was the house to go and hang out with and be, um, part of this group that I'm talking about. They know each other. I feel strongly that they all know each other, and even if they don't know the situation on what happened that night, th- some of these people who know that house know that something happened there. They have a gut instinct on like, oh yeah, something went wrong there. That was messed up, but they don't know what happened. Maybe some of them, but others guess, others know a little bit more. People know. This is not out of the blue. And if somebody could crack into that circle of friends, and if somebody talks, you're going to hear. But nobody wants to get somebody's brother in trouble, and nobody wants to like deal with the bigger people involved. They're afraid they're going to be, hurt. They're afraid for themselves.
I believe that. What do you see? Can you see the future of this case? Do you see any like light or something coming down on it? What I mean, any kind of I
I
know
feel
we're
who is going to crack it is a female. I mean, I feel the female is the key to
so
cracking
the
it.
so
It's
Kim is the
not a guy
key.
coming up. Well, I feel she's one of them. It may be a friend who knows Kim. I feel
Okay.
Kim, I would prefer that Kim comes forward on her own recognizance and like makes a deal, because if she doesn't and somebody else does, it's going to be, I'll say this. So if you're watching Kim, if you don't come forward, somebody else will come forward and you'll be in more trouble. You might as well do this yourself, you know? Uh,
Called out on dad with a phone right there, Kim.
yeah.
It's like it's calling you out.
And maybe it's not the Woodland Police where you go and turn yourself into, Kim. Like, if you want to do this, maybe go down to the Springs. Like, maybe go bigger. I don't know if you can you go to a different jurisdiction? I mean, I don't know how law works like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. If
But
she
if you don't feel safe about your own police department, go to somewhere else, make a negotiation. Like, I think she's afraid of just disappearing.
well, if she watched what happened to Mindy, her fears could very much be well founded.
Well, they had to tell the cops that Mindy was they had to tell the cops that Mindy was on drugs, in order to make this case seem real, like she ran out of the car. But I feel somebody was sick enough to say, well, we got to put a stash in her too. I feel that was that third guy again. Got to make it look like it was drug related. That was the big deal.
Because then it's easy to pass off as a drug related deal. I mean, they're gonna treat it like every drug related case here, and I have absolutely seen them lie about that, hide those things. They bring them forward when they want to bring them forward, and when they want to make them disappear, they can make those things disappear. There is no doubt in my mind that there could be some incompetence and some corruptness within the police. There's no doubt that the good old boy system is still very much alive here in Woodland Park.
I
And
gotta give props though, because I do think there's a new blood coming into your Woodland Park that's gonna help eventually. It's just that, it takes some time. We're at 9 years now, almost 10 years. Takes some time. People have to be voted out.
well, since you said that, so I'm running for city council.
Are you really?
I already got all my
All right.
signatures. I got all my signatures to get on the ballot, so they're not going to be able to stop me from getting on the ballot. What do you see for the April 20 election? Is Dalton going to be on council? Can you
Let's take a look.
don't be giving me no craziness now? Oh
I
crap!
won't. Oh, I have to know your birthday though. That helps.
4/20/79,
Really? You're cuspy. Okay.
whatever that means.
It's not bad.
I'm about to find out if I'm gonna win this election, and then we're gonna like watch this tape on my election celebration.
Is this your first time going for it?
Um, Actually, 4 years ago, I got to the point I'm at now, which was get enough citizens to put you on the ballot, and I got the confirmation back from the city, and they were like, "Michael, you're confirmed to go on the ballot." And then the next day, I called them and said, "I'm chicken shit out. Take me off the ballot. I don't want to try to run for council. I was just joking. It was a joke." So 4 years have gone by, and I've had a lot happen in the life, and said, you know what, this is the year. And I've gotten an incredible positive response from the community. A lot of people have come forward. They've been watching the podcast. They've been watching the Woodland Park Underground, and they said, there is time for change, and there's time for this. And this is a good opportunity for me to learn how the city's run. I don't know shit about shit when it comes to councils. I've sat in plenty of council meetings, but
Right.
as the inner workings of a local government, I am going to be a newbie. And part of me is like, I'm happy about this. I like this. And so, but
Okay.
that doesn't make a lot of people happy. That doesn't
Right.
make
Okay. So what I got, and this is why I asked if this was your first time.
okay.
And this is what I want to know. The first time that I see, it says that you would not win your first time. Okay. And it said that something was. Were you scared, or were you scared they would find out stuff that was going on in your life that you didn't want them to know?
Oh no, and that was the brilliance of it. Like, I'm an open book. Like, I made mistakes and I talk about all of them.
Okay.
But there was some things that were brought up to me by some smart people in town, and they were like, and first of all, I was running for mayor at that point. So this,
Right.
I was I
Oh,
was
okay.
I was going to run for mayor, and there was two other guys running for mayor, and and some people came to me and said, Michael, we know you have a chance, and you have a chance to get a lot of votes, but you may also pull votes from another candidate, and then the third candidate could very much win. Like, I may damage it, and then the guy that I really didn't want to win
Right.
was going to
What could
win.
went in by splitting the boat type
Yeah.
thing.
So
Okay.
I said I got verified. I was going to run, and then I had some other issue. I had some other things in my life because I wasn't really. It was kind of a joke to do it. Like, can I get 25 signatures? And so I did, and then it turned into, oh, this is going to be a reality, and that reality happened again today because I got all my signatures for this new upcoming election. But nevertheless, I didn't want to split the vote on the mayor, and because I pulled out,
Mm-hmm.
the guy that this guy said he's guaranteed to be mayor. He's gonna be mayor. Every good old boy in town said he was gonna be mayor. But when I pulled out, I pushed for the other guy, and we were able to keep that other guy from being mayor. And it was a cool thing. It was cool to
Okay.
watch. And so this time around, instead of running for mayor, we've had open spots on city council,
Okay.
multiple
So
spots.
before you say anything more,
Okay.
okay, because I'm going to show you what I got. I'm going to tell you what I got and explain what I see, and this will make more sense to you, okay?
All right.
So the first time, this is why I asked if this was the
First
first time
time.
you ran. The first time this was upside down. This is the Nine of Cups. It means that you wouldn't be happy about it, and you wouldn't have won, and it's good that you pulled out, okay?
Okay.
And it shows me the reason why this is why I asked if there was something you didn't want people to see or something like that. It was the indolence card, which means that things would go, like, you were thinking things would go bad or go rotten. Now you're telling me that you were afraid you'd split the vote and things would go a bad turn. And this is what this card means, okay?
All
Taking a
right.
bad turn. So I can see why you pulled out. And then this card that I got is showing the Seven of Wands. And this means that it wouldn't be the mayor. This means a change. Seven always indicates change. Okay. And so you would change your mind about running in the sense of, but not be a mayor, you could change your direction. So going for city council as opposed to mayor is where you're at now, which is with the city. Okay. Which is the Seven of Wands. Now, what you get for the answer is the Sun card, which is this card, which is the Yes card. So I do feel that you will make it. It almost felt like 3 times the charm, right? But I can see how this could be 2 times as long as you made your change from mayor to city council. I do feel city council is a better fit than mayor. So
Hashtag that. Hashtag that. So there you go. I just got the reading from Psychic Lisa on Dad with the Phone about the upcoming election. The cool thing about this, I'm agreeing with you. I see that. I call that. I'll say I accept all of that. Um, we get to see, which will be fun for all
Yeah.
of us. And there's a lot of things that have to fall in place. People have to get out and vote and do all the fun stuff. But hey, pull a few cards with what I like to consider the expert, three generation, whatever we want to call it. It's in your DNA. So I just got
So,
a reading. So
yeah,
hey, thank you so much for
you're welcome.
tonight.
I appreciate you having me on today. So I hope I can help. And if you guys ever need to ask me anything more, feel free to, give me a jingle.
So that's okay. So you're talking to me, not all you guys in chat. Um,
You can find me like at first. Let's just keep it here and like have me come back on here and there.
absolutely, you're more
And
than
if you
welcome.
really need me to look at something and you have something, we can make that happen.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
thank you so much again.
You're welcome.
It's been awesome. I would normally push where they can find you, but you know what? She just said basically she's exclusive to Dad with the phone right now until some things change. She's my personal professional psychic. Um,
I will
expert.
help people if needed. It's got to go through a filter right now, so I don't get like I'm kind of scared that I'm saying a lot, and I don't
Absolutely.
want the wrong people to find me. If you want to
Absolutely.
find me, I'm gonna leave it to Dad with a phone to pass it along. If you know these people, I'm okay.
All right,
Okay.
perfect. Hey,
All
thank
right.
you so much. We'll
You're
talk to you
welcome.
later, Psychic
Have a good
Lisa.
night, guys. All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Perfect. Wow. What do you say? I mean, if you didn't start from the beginning, then you're going to have to go back and watch because she's a professional. That's all I know. And I absolutely believe there's both logic and something there working to to see something. And when she talks about who's going to come forward, there are some things that have happened since I've been starting. Okay. So since we started this podcast, since we started talking about Mindy on a very specific, on a very calculated, on a very deliberate plan, some things have happened. Some people have been noticed, seen. Um, like I said, I spent this is this is straight to you and I and all everyone watching. I spent 2.5 hours on a phone call with actual people who can make a difference in this city. On top of that, I will tell you that I am afforded, if I were to become a city council member, if I were to become a city council member, I am afforded privileges that regular citizens are not, whether it be there's just some privileges that I have just been informed of. In other words, some people called me up and said, do you realize if you become a city council member, uh, there are some added things that you are available, the resources that you're able to tap into that as a regular citizen, I am not. Now, the difference between what I can talk about and what I can't talk about, well, I got to talk to a lawyer about that. But I can tell you now that I'm not going to be quiet about the Mindy Lee case. It's not going to happen. Um, we're going to continue to make noise. We're going to continue to scream Mindy's name from the mountaintop. We're going to continue to um, reach out to people that are in touch and touching this case. And this is just one example. If you're just joining, we released a set of recordings from a psychic who did a reading on Mindy Lee's mother just a few short months after Mindy Lee was found dead. Those happened 9 years ago. Today, we just finished up a live podcast with that psychic. And so you need to go listen to those recordings. You need to share those recordings. You need to talk about those recordings. You need to go through them. So I'm going to finish up. My beautiful wife just walked in the house, but I'm going to tell you right now, come back in 30 minutes for the call-in show to discuss this. Go take a break. We've been going for an hour and 45 minutes, but I'm going to have a call-in show where I open the lines up to you guys to discuss what we've been talking about in this Mindy Lee case. So give me 30 minutes to give my wife some loves, kisses, and hugs as she just walked in. And we'll be back on Dad with the Phone, both on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I didn't put any banners up the whole time. I didn't want to distract. Go find me on all my social medias if you're still here. And make sure you hit subscribe and like so you get those notifications. If you're one that listens to the end, you're a faithful listener to the end. If you want to give to help this listener supported show, Dad with the Phone, you can give directly to that PayPal account, Watered Down Productions. It's the production house that I own. Everything else, it's up to you. Thanks for joining. This has been a great podcast. By God, expert. Anybody want to talk about experts? You can have whoever you want on. I just had like a third or fourth generation psychic on. It was crazy, baby girl. I'll tell you about my reading. Watch out. We're out of here. Dad with a Phone about a specific question. Am I going to win the election? That's what I asked her. And I had to clarify because at first she told me I wasn't going to, but then she heard the clarification and she was like, oh, I see a yes. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. We'll be back in 30 minutes.